Bluetooth mode.
Good evening to us in Zambia, to those of us that were just waking up, good morning, to others, good afternoon. Welcome to this program where we have, I'm trying to say this right, because I think the duo that we have got funny names. They're the praise singers, they're the chair praise singers, and the list is endless of the names that they have. So I will just ask and welcome Mr. I think Mr. Miyanda hasn't been on this show, but Mr. Frank has. So I will start by welcoming Mr. Miyanda. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
I think you're muted. I can't quite hear you.
Are you able to hear me now?
I still can't get you.
Are you able to hear me now?
Oh, bless. I can't get you. I don't know what's happened to your sound. Are you not muted?
No.
If you can just check your mic. Or perhaps as we wait for you, Mr. Frank, good evening.
Evening, Mwelo, how are you?
Just check your sound. Is it just me? I'm wondering whether it's me that has a problem with my sound, since I now can't get the both of you.
I think check your sound, because I can get Miyanda as well. It's loud and clear.
Oh, bless. Okay. I'm now a little worried whether it's me that's having problems with my sound.
Okay.
but I could get you before we started the show. So I'll just bring in Mr. Wiseman
Okay.
so we can test ourselves. Good evening, Mr. Wiseman.
Good evening, Melwa. How are you?
Nah, it's me. I think I am the one that might have the problem. I'll try and just nip out and then come back in. And I hope that I'll have the sound. So, Mr. Wiseman, kindly take over as I try and get back in again.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Plank.
Evening, Mr. Wiseman.
How are you, sir?
I'm okay. I can see you are in red, flashing colors everywhere.
Yeah,
Commemorating the 1 year.
always. Celebrating 1 year. Mr.
Violence.
Yeah. Mr. Miyanda, good evening, sir. Are you able to get me?
Yeah, I'm able to get you loud and clear. Good evening. How are you?
Thank
now
you very
I can
much.
get you.
Okay, you can take over. You can take over then if you're able to get us clear.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wiseman. So welcome to the program, Mr. Frank and Mr. Miyanda.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure being on the show again.
Oh, bless. This is not working at all. Mr. Wiseman, I'll nip out again.
Thank you.
I think I'm probably have a problem somewhere.
Mr. Frank, we're able to get each other back, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start the program then. Mr. Manamula will join us once I get back to the sound system. I was been
No problem.
State House. You know, most of us, some of us place singers. We are. I think you are affected by your journey, as you have seen. That's from TikTok and everywhere. How are you experiencing this experience, Mr. Frank and Mr. Nia? Let me start with Mr. Frank first of all, because he's the one who came up with that initiative. And how is it working on your side? And what sort of encouragement can you give to some of the youths who are in the same angle as the money of this kid?
Well, the initiative on its own has quite a bigger impact as I've seen it now. Sometimes when you're beginning to do something, it doesn't really echo the same sentiments with everyone. And at some point, I received a lot of challenges. People would even discourage me. People from church, because I'm an elder church. For my elder, I forgot. And beyond being an elder, I'm a family man. And besides that, I have a business reputation to take. And so many people tell me these things that you're doing is not going to take you anywhere. I received mockery at first and all those things, but the only one thing that kept me determined is I knew how I voted and where I voted and why I voted, because most of the people that supported UPND, and I can say some of them that supported UPND, most of them wanted a benefit immediately after we formed government, and that was the bone which made a lot of them maybe get frustrated because they didn't get any recognition right there and then. Now, certain things, it's common, like the common English, they say patience pays. I was just surprised. I kept on pushing. For me, my basic interest wasn't to get an appointment or get something in return, but to support a man with a noble cause. Because previously we had the regime. I call them the criminal organization. So for me, I wouldn't even have loved to see the criminal organization take charge of this country or ever again because of the things that we had gone through. So for me, being a TikToker and Facebook and all those things, I would do all those things with a lot of controversy. I would receive a lot of comments, negative. People would insult me publicly on my page and all those things. But little did I know that the president and the entire state house would recognize the efforts that I'm doing. And At the end of the day, my colleague there, Miyanda, after seeing whatever I was doing, he was also interested and said, let's do this together. So whatever we've gone through with him, it's quite a rough moment. He'll be able to tell you his own experience of what has been happening to him ever since we started doing the press. You know, so many people call you names. These guys are just idiots, Valienzelu, and you know, they to some point where they even call us broke people. But you know, it didn't matter. Anyway. But for me, the noble cause that I voted for was a vote for justice, and I'm seeing justice prevail. So for me, I'm one of the happiest person in Zambia right now because my vote wasn't wasted.
Thank you very much. I think I've seen Madam Mwerwa she's back. Hopefully, you're able to get us now. As Mr. Miyanda
I
is
can get you
taking.
back. I think I had to restart all my devices, unfortunately. So I do apologize for that.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
So, Mr. Miyanda, when you heard that when you received your invite to State House, did you believe it, or were you doubting the validity of that invite?
Yeah, it came in as a shocker. It was when I received the call, it sounded like a joke. Because you see, when I joined Frank, we of course expected that at some point this thing will blossom, but we did not expect that it will blossom this soon. Yeah, because Frank had been doing it for a while, whilst I'd been doing it in the background. So when I met Frank, I actually, because I'd followed him on TikTok, so the first video I watched of him was when he was saying Muka Kakepo Chimo. So then, luckily enough, I was seated at my business place and I saw him pass by, I mean. So I called him and then we sat. And I asked him whether he had a minute to share with me, which he agreed he would be able to spare. So we sat down. I appreciated the work he was doing. Of course, a few people around me had told me a lot of negatives about him when I tried to ask where he's found. Yeah, so they told me a number of negatives. They just said he's a talkative person and always trying to step on other people's toes. Yeah, so when I had an opportunity of meeting him, we sat at my business place and shared notes. Yeah, so of course we also exchanged numbers, and I started engaging him at that level. So the second meeting we had was where he had come to my business place as a customer. So we had a laugh around the last conversation we had had. We had had, and we laughed about it. And he said, "I'm shocked that you are one of those people that are encouraging me to continue doing this thing, because the people that I've known for a long time, including some friends from the church, and of course their social networks, have been against this. Even some of my family members have been advising me to tone down, because they were attributing my speaking to bitterness, of course." Yeah, so we laughed about it, and then I said, "You are on the right track, just keep pushing." So we met 3, 4, 5 times. Slowly we started, I think we started singing from the same hymn page. And from childhood, I've been a camera shy guy, so I didn't want to offend anyone, and I always avoided. I would be in the background when he's doing his videos. I would advise, of course, on the selection of the words and all. But this other time, he just came in his usual violence mood and said, today we are making a video, sir. And whether you like it or not, you are supposed to appear in this video. There's an issue. There's an issue around the 15 houses. So we are not rehearsing. You are a knowledgeable person. I'm switching on the camera. I'm switching on the camera and we are shooting this video. Oh, we've lost Mwelo again.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, so he says we are shooting this video. He said we are shooting this video whether you like it or not. So I hesitated. He insisted that we should shoot it from my business place, but then I said, no, let's find a neutral place. So that's how we found a neutral place right a few meters away from my business place. And he pressed the button, of course. I didn't know what to say, but he set the ball rolling and we started talking. Concerning the summoning of a person I will not mention here. She was supposed to attend an interview, I think, with Deck. Yeah, so
Yes.
the ball was set rolling and we started talking. So from that time, all the videos we've done have been unrehearsed. So it is a situation where
I think that somebody pointed out recently to say it feels like you people are so well connected, or like you've known each other for a long time, and you really haven't. But you you pick on each other's, you even finish off each other's sentences, which is very amusing, because I was under the impression that maybe you'd known each other quite a while. But for Mr. Frank, a quick one here. What is it that you presented to the president? What was the itching topic that you presented when you spoke to the president and the other guests?
It was basically thanking him for the 1 year that he has given us, because we didn't see any panga, any jumbo. No, by the way, that stinking jumbo is no longer on the streets anymore. And the bottom line is, I spoke to him and said, you're on the right track. You're on the right path. And the only major challenge that the presidency and the UPND were facing is the media system, because then the media, for us to start doing what we are doing is because we had seen a gap. So the speech that I presented before him is that there's a gap in the media section of the party equally, and the section of the UPND and the presidents. That's why we've seen a lot of crazy and unformatted comments from the opposition guys that keep on attacking the UPND and the presidents. And above all things, he even spoke so quite openly that is one of my biggest fans, is a follower of my page, and he watches every move and every video that we do. So, and he says, it's like we are encouraging him, because from time immemorial, when UPND just formed government, nobody was protecting the president like we did openly. It's like most of us were either frustrated, I don't know, or maybe there's fatigue in the party, or maybe people are no longer interested in serving any position. But he said, with the interest of whatever we've been doing just this period, 1 year, the recognition that he had given us, because we have fought tooth and nail just to protect the presidency and the party itself as UPND. So we gave him a good speech, though.
That's really nice of you. Equally today, his celebration of the inauguration day, everyone was under the impression it was going to be this big deal. I don't know what was going to happen, but then we see him serving. So what do you think about that servanthood? Because for me, I think that sort of showed a bit of a humbleness, and it did show equally. But humble is very relative. We don't want to say humble when somebody just does this and we say humble. But I think that was servanthood, like he keeps talking about. So what did you think about this celebration, rather than what has been in the past, where people went there and it was Kwando and you could walk out with a crate of Mosi and say Nachok State House? What are your thoughts, Mr. Miyanda?
What I would love to say is that humbleness is a fruit. So personally, before I eat a fruit, I will not call it a mango. I will not call it an apple until I taste it. So that a mango tree has leaves that look like a mango tree, that a tree has leaves that look like a mango tree, will not convince me enough. I want to taste a fruit that is called mango, and then I will say this person is humble. What we've been seeing from the previous regime are, humbleness stunts, where someone walks in a certain way, sits in a certain way, and
I call it the Buddha walk.
Yes. So for some of us that have been privileged to a certain kind of information, we are able to detect fake humbleness. So to me, seeing our president save shows me that we really have a humble person in plot one, as opposed to a situation where a person goes to church and of course hits up one of those stunts. That does not convince me. So today I'm convinced beyond reasonable doubt that we have a humble man in State House. Apart from that, the other thing, before I talk about today's meeting, the other thing that suggested this man is humble is just how we interacted. There is always that heavy aura around the president, but we interacted with our president in an environment where a person like me that was going to State House for the first time was free to interact with people, free to speak on mic, and also generally he created a very conducive environment, even for a few other guests that attended that meeting. Of course, there were some people that were coming from different walks of life, including people that PF labeled poor. Of course, I saw a picture on their wall. They called those people poor. Of course, they are poor because they are coming from a background of their reckless decisions. Yeah, so I call our president humble because he made everyone in that tent very comfortable. Yeah, thank you very much.
That's very good. Mr. Frank?
Yes, I can get you.
I was just asking about your experience and looking at how the president celebrate their inauguration season by hosting people for lunch. So yesterday was the sportsmen and women, and we see the president even doing them. So what are your thoughts on that particular act of the president?
Okay, for me, it's one of the rare opportunities that come once in life, and I was very much pleased to have seen me being among the people that the president had considered as a working person, a very working hard person for the party and the presidency. So for me, when I was expecting a lot of people there, quite a good number of dignitaries, but to my surprise, it picked on normal people, like common persons, people from the market, people from Kalingalinga, people from the station, so that those people that would want to testify and say, this is not how I used to operate as a taxi driver. This is not how I used to operate as a bus driver. This is not how I sold my goods on the market. in one way or the other pushed to and from. But I'm happy now that certain things have changed, and I'm able to make, even if it's a 20 kwacha, it's my money. I've made it freely. I think that for me was more convincingly enough. We have a leader that is more humble than enough in plot one, because then he wasn't looking at the who the dignitaries should invite at State House, because previously we used to see State House for maybe a certain group of people, where common persons, a common man like Bapiket Shalabali, there's a common man on the market, there's a common man on the street, there's a common man anywhere. So we need to take a time and listen to these common men. So now the president had recognized some of us as common men. We are not on the structure for the UPND, we're not anywhere closer, but he had to recognize the effort that we have put in, personal effort, not because the party is supporting whatever we're doing. No, it's personal effort, and the president recognizes it and says, these are people that are working for the party. These are the people that are working for UPND and protecting the presidency. So for me, I've never come across any humble leader as he is. And like Miyanda said, the way he interacts with people is something so different. You know, sometimes you know, there's a common phrase to test a man's character, give them power. Power may come in form of wealth. Power may come in form of money. Power may come in form of maybe a position. But I'm just giving them a small position, maybe a director position at any company. Bakale kuposha abantu. Bakala ingira fengana mwebe na mwero ifumwe bana kashinga bami pshakolo hi. Like, you know, that kind of behavior. But it's not that kind of a man. Believe me, His Excellence the President, Againde Ichilema, is not that kind of a man. He would want to do things with you so that he understands. And you know how plot one is, you don't go with your gadgets there, you leave them at the gate. But for him, for one particular reason, I think that was the reason they called us to do there, he had to allow me and Miyanda's phone to be cleared, and we went with it inside State House. And immediately
I was actually going to ask you how you got your phones in. So thanks for this tidbit.
So he had to say, we were personally asked, we want to do a TikTok video with you. So I said, okay, fine, we'll do a 1 minute video. And he's very humble, and he would flow. I was even thinking, how is he going to flow? Because me and they were like kind of violent. So the president is too humble, and you know, so I was surprised that made the flow just like that. So for me, the gesture that he had given us and the gesture that I had seen around people that surrounded him, I think we have a right leader in plot one now.
All right, excellent. I think today's news. Yes, Mr. Miyanda, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I think one of the things that I should highlight here is how when Frank was called to go and give his success story, so Frank walked, of course, he was called by his namesake, Franklin Tembo Jr. Yeah, so he was called to go and give his success story. So as Frank was talking, I felt a bit nervous. I didn't want to go and stand before the president, you know, addressing a president. Yeah, so Honorable Mwaliteta sat next to us, and so he says, but you go and stand right behind Frank there. So I walked and went and stood behind Frank. So immediately he saw me, he recognized my face, and just the expression he gave me made me feel very confident. He went like, you know, showing that he has been watching our videos, because I think he should have been wondering where this other bold-headed guy was. So immediately he saw me stand behind Frank, he recognized me, and just a facial expression showed how he loves people. I saw love in his eyes. He loves people, and definitely if he loves a common man, and he follows our programs, definitely he will follow each and every good thing that will spring out of Zambia. Yeah,
absolutely. I think I'm totally in agreement with you on that one. I think we'll slightly move away from your trip to State House and just go through a little of the things that have happened in the last couple of days or hours. Literally in Zambia, there's news that comes out every other hour. I think it always seems like. I have somebody that constantly reminds me and tells me things, and I keep asking myself, how are you on top of the information? But today we've had news from ECZ that they will not allow Mr. Bowman and the former Kwacha MP to stand for elections. And then towards just another hour later on, we have Laz saying, oh, no. Actually, there's a difference. If the court say they're just disqualifying your elections, they didn't nullify your human being or something along those lines. What are your thoughts, Mr. Frank?
These are some of the things that we need to get really concerned with. Personally, I want to register my disappointment with Laz. I think they've been playing on our minds for a long time. We're not dumb. It does not mean when they are lawyers then we are dumb. No, they need to respect the people's constitution and view. That constitution is not meant for Laz alone. No, whether it's written in a technocrat type of a document where they want to confuse us on the interpretation, that is wrong. Otherwise, anyone, it's like given a basic example. You steal from a company. You are working in a company. You steal, and maybe they chase you from that from that institution. Then, be it that at a certain point you are found guilty at the company. So, okay, fine. Since you are in possession of this stolen item, can you just return back to the position that you had as director? These are some of the things that the moral aspect comes in. I think for me, I'm beginning to do openly. This is on the show, and I want to be very open. We're doing a show against Laz. I think the president for Laz should not take this country for granted. There's no way somebody who was unconstitutionally, it was constitutionally reversed, and it was clear between Bowman Lusambo and the Honorable Joe Malanje. Their seats were nullified, and ECZ made it very clear on the grounds they stood. They had quoted the constitution, which even says clearly to say, no, if one is disqualified, they have to wait for that a parliament period of 5 years to come and maybe stand again. But why shouldn't people to re-stand back again? Somebody contesting for the same position after stealing, because definitely the Concord had found them guilty. So by the virtue of that ruling, they are guilty by offense, and that does not extract anything. Now they are trying to play on our minds that it's not about the person, it's about the office, it's about what. I think Laz should get serious, and for us to start a violence campaign against Laz now.
I think that's very true, because in my head I'm looking at like you've used the basic example. If you're fired from work today and tomorrow you see the vacancy in the newspaper, will you apply? There's that common sense that I'm asking, even for Laz to sit down. This is where I was saying. So Laz Bachika Panshi and said, oh, no. The office is different from the human being. So since when did we begin, removing people? Because now this is where I'm equally querying them. Are you then saying that a political seat is like a business? Because a business entity and the human being, so since when did political elements be, when were they separated from the being? And why is it that they're now speaking from two different books? Why should Laz say something against ECZ? ECZ is independent, Laz is independent. So now we are a little, like you're saying, it feels like, people are playing on your mind, even if it is common sense. Mr. Miyanda.
You know what, Mushiwe? Laz they're only giving us their opinion. And we all have opinions. I do not need to be a lawyer to understand certain things. Umuntu bashtanalify city yakwe, because the court has found issues with their grade 12 certificate, the basic qualification of the land. the courts nullify on the ground that the grade 12 qualifications, their grade 12 qualification is questionable. So then the court decides to rule that the seat be nullified. So which other grade 12 certificate is he going to present before ECZ? If the other grade 12 he has was rejected before the Concord, we do not need to be lawyers or go through any law school to be able to think.
Absolutely.
Then over the other, I don't know whether to call him honorable or whatever, because some of these people, you can't call them honorable. I also think,
why do we even call them honorable? Someone isn't
as
honorable.
Call them honorable? A person who organizes people to beat up people and all, the seat gets nullified. Of course, the reason why Kabushi was nullified was because of what they call malpractice. Now, this malpractice has not been broken down for us, but all we believe is that he went against the Constitution, and so he should be reported to police. Yeah. He should be reported to police. These are people that we are not even supposed to be calling honorable. So if there was malpractice, why allow the same person that perpetuated malpractice to recontest? So LAS should stop playing politics. They should stop playing politics and come out in open if they have issues. They should not think. They should not think we all need to go to a law school to be able to think. Certain things are basic. A constitution has basic language. What we might not just be able to do as people that have not gone to a law school, maybe it's just application of law and all. But reading and comprehending what is written in the Constitution is for any basic person, any person that has attained basic education. So they shouldn't think it's so hard to understand Article 72 of the Constitution of Zambia, Amendment Act number 2016. It is there in this book called the Constitution. You are able to download it and read it for yourself. And this is where Zambians should begin questioning certain characters. Should begin questioning certain characters. They could be lawyers, yes. But what is their interest in defending illegalities? These are some of the things that make me and Frank start boiling. My blood boils, and the next thing you hear is we are doing a video lashing out at some of these people. We do not need to go to a law school to be able to understand what Article 72 of the Constitution of Zambia Amendment, whatever says. It is wrong.
Absolutely.
And then what worries me now is where young people like fellow young people will watch such kind of rot. They will be watching and thinking, they will be coming to us saying, no, keep quiet, you are talking too much, keep quiet. This does not add up for me. It makes my blood boil, because what kind of a country am I going to leave for my children if people that are supposed to be called honorable will present papers that don't meet the grade 12 benchmark, and you still want me to continue calling them honorable?
Yeah, my questions actually for Mr. Mlanja especially is, so when they were authenticating his results from the Education Council, who actually authenticated them? Because somebody authenticated them. So nobody has been charged from
there. Is a procedure.
Neither has he been charged. Yeah. Then, so they're going to go free. But if I take my neighbor who stole my chicken, they can be arrested for 4 or 5 years. You know, that just...
What we should be following up, the issues we should be following up now are that if he was elected as MP on that grade 12 certificate, who authenticated it? 1. 2, he had been drawing a salary, of course, on these documents that false documents that had been presented. So as Zambians, we should be getting concerned. If this, and this could not just be happening in parliament, this could be happening in the civil service as well. I'm sure there could be people that have presented fake grade, I don't want to call them fake, maybe questionable, I would say questionable grade 12 documents. So
yeah,
we as Zambians need to, as young Zambians, let's start singing from the same hymn book, regardless of political affiliation and religious accreditation. We need to start thinking about the kind of a country we want for our children.
Absolutely.
The next thing you will hear is, in fact, it's good that these people introduced this grade 12 basic qualification. Otherwise, the rate at which PF was moving, we could have had a parliament full of commanders.
A parliament
had we not, yes, we would have had a jumbo, because I just failed to understand this green software, how they think, even when I don't know what happens to people when they join PF. I just don't know. Even educated people in PF.
For me, what you've just highlighted, these are some of the painful things. Sometimes that's why it's quite unfortunate that we have Abantole Batma lawyers. They've been practicing law. To be honest, those Baba lawyer Shabalanda, Baba Chana banned from practicing because of their ethics. So such lawyers, for me, don't even shake me. Those lawyers are just giving an opinion poll. We had people that gave us some opinion poll even prior before the elections. Oh, you lose and we are going to win with a landslide. They were even telling us Mwanyala, some businessmen, big businessmen that even told us microeconomic, I don't know whatever term we used, to convince us Zambians that we are on a wrong path of maybe supporting the UPND. But at the end of the day, the people's voice had to decide whether it's a PF to be in power or they were changing government. Now, why should we listen to a group of people that we don't know? Maybe they've been given something for them to speak like that. So for me, it's something. So for me, it's just their opinion, and there's no way we should be compelled by the opinion of a group of people that feel they are more, they have a moral upright than us. No, like Miyanda said, the Constitution is written in basic English language. That's why they post it in a public domain. Now, the books that they use in law, there are certain books that they've used in law that are not in public domain. No matter how much you go on Google, you won't even find them. You have to go through the system so that you learn how to interpret, maybe use their language. But certain language they bring, like he had given the Article 72, it's clear on number 4 of how the disqualification of that, it clears, I think, up to A, B, C, D, and G. Then after that, on 4, it gives you why, who should stand if they qualify up to those A, B, C, D, and G's. So now, there's even Article 52, very clear in this Constitution. But today, somebody tries to twist their language and bring confusing us, like Zambians are not normal and they are not thinking. I think this is a kind of mindset we should begin to question now. That's why, for now, me, I'm having a worry. Who should even represent us as lawyers? Because some people are becoming a disgrace to the law enforcement agencies. Because these are systems that should protect the public interest. That's what I know, Michelle.
Yeah.
These are systems that should protect.
I think for me, like you're saying, for me, one of the things that irritates me a lot sometimes about LAS is their pseudo-independence. I mean, was it so hard for them? I'm sure under ECZ, a lawyer. This is where I get baffled with Balaz. There's a lawyer who's qualified, who was authenticated or called to the bar by Balaz. They were taught by Laz. So when that lawyer tells ECZ to say this is okay, and they go ahead and they announce this decision, because obviously ECZ has to make decisions based on the law, and somebody who is a lawyer read the law and guided them. Then Balaz, who kufundile that you're wrong. Does that mean then if you're alone, because for me that questions their credibility on teaching you? Unfortunately, that's what they expose. I tend to think, because if they teach you and you're in such a sensitive organization as ECZ, you are getting knowledge from what you were taught. So the moment we are out of it, why come in the public? Because it equally means they're equally even embarrassing themselves and you who they trained. So this is where I have a very questionable element about Balaz sometimes when they make these statements. I remember when they confused us about ECL standing as a second or third term, and you're sat there thinking, even Mliokela, apanga sense, and you're insisting that this is legal. But I think, like you've said, Zambian people are able to think, we're able to reason, and we're now able to even make decisions, and the ballot box really works a lot for us. Mr. Wiseman, any questions, any additions?
I think just an addition, Mwelo. Even me, I'm shocked with the way that's. I think I can. If there is a petition to ask our humble leader, Mr. Inde Chilima, first to ban laws for some times for them to think and restart again. I think it's the way laws are. I'm thinking like I'm driving a vehicle right now, and then I hit someone that dies. I should not be arrested as a driver. The police should stop the vehicle because the vehicle which has hit, it's like it is me. That's why the police will impound the vehicle and will arrest the driver. It works both. Same as Bowman Lusambo. Bowman Lusambo was the one driving those lawlessness in Kabushi. So if the court has nullified the city through his bad doing of Bowman Lusambo and his colleague Bonanza through dishing out money, who was the driver? It was the Book and the Bonanza. So why should you say it was the seat which was nullified and these people, they are qualified to stand? Last, I think we are going to raise a campaign for that to be banned. Secondly, why could a Laz people wait for ECZ to make a pronouncement for them to jump in and write a letter? Because Laz, they have heard us people were commenting about this issue for too long, asking. They were just quiet in the office, waiting for someone to talk. Here, this one, McDonald Chipenzi, even like and said, I'm going to petition if these people filed the nomination. Last were quiet. After that's why sometimes if you give too much freedom to these institutions, this is the behavior, because they have been given too much independence by our body, the good father, as the Timbao prophet says. That's why now they are behaving like this. Otherwise, for me, I'm very disappointed with us. And in fact, on the lighter note, we don't even need that direction from Kabushi, because Bali is fixing everywhere. Or even where there is no MP, CDF. So why fixing? We don't even need that direction.
I think you're very right. We have a comment by Mr. Kavinda. I hope this is the man. I'm saying Mr. and I might be wrong. By Kavinda Sebwa. And he says, Mololaz is not a school, and I guess you're confusing it with Ziali. I think you're right. My reasoning was that, well, you still have to register under Laz when you pass your Ziali. Ziali has to work with Laz. So sometimes I'm thinking they're still sort of one and the same persons, because obviously Laz has to authenticate Ziali. Ziali has to still look. I think that was my reasoning. So I hope I've clarified that. Mr. Mkeleba, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mwelwa. How are you?
I'm very fine, thanks. How are you, and how is your home country? How's the weather?
No, the weather is very beautiful. It's too warm. We're okay. Otherwise, I'm glad to see the praise singers. I am. How are you, gentlemen? I am so delighted to meet you today.
We're very fine, thank you. How are you today?
Very fine, thank you. We have been, I don't know when was the last time I started singing as a praise singer. Sometime, I don't know, so. But anyway, I'm happy, people. You are doing the great thing, and it's true. Baka poleka ngabale angala. Let's continue supporting the president. He's doing, and the government in place. They are doing the right thing. But about the small issues that are taking place kungandoko kumyesu, I feel sometimes they say muchivemba ati bamukolwe nga bafula kabucha bwangu. Bafuaya palia pene wamona ati palia pene bamfu ati palika issue. That's when they want to come in and start bringing their legal expertise. Otherwise, opo tuba mweno kutira ati kanshi bambi nibalya bali kitafe push kabiye nife ku skulu but olomwa pasa bali ba kitafye push because ama interpretations yamo you can even doubt and say, is this really coming from a learned council?
Yeah.
It is so disappointing. But however, they have their own opinion. LAS is not a court. LAS is just an institution. It's a board that can come up with its own opinion, and we need to respect that. ECZ came up with their own findings, and it is their decision is final. Unless somebody has an issue with them, then they can take the matter up to the court for a judicial review. Otherwise, what takes precedent right now is the decision that ECZ has done. And what they have said is that those people that were involved, that were found guilty of malpractices, they are not eligible to stand. And that is the fact. And that's what the law says. And there's no way about it. So our laws politicking. There are some people who are just trying to test our court system. But for MP, they want to take matters to court. You know, that's how they make money, is to create trouble and confusion, so that bene lusambo nga bamufwefyo baya mukufunye mpia kulia bafishire kulia bashikire baya bwesha. He said, let me involve you lawyers, and the lawyers are going to be that's how lawyers, you see them rich. They create a situation for people like bene lusambo nga bamona ati bale bachita support, even when they don't have a case. They rush and bombard the lawyers with dollars. Shirandalama bafishire shambo kwisa shikesa zibwera.
Yeah. I think of that comment, actually, we are now seeing a lot of things being repossessed, or the seizures of the cars, those miraculous cars that were falling, the ones that are falling like manna, the accounts that are being frozen. I think currently we have now I'm trying to remember the name. I always find this name very strange. It's Crint and not Clint. I think these are the owners of Ndozo. Then there's another family as well, again, that was caught recently. A former police chief was equally caught, the sausage issue. And we're seeing all these things coming out. And my confusion is this. In my head, or maybe if I were to steal, this is me. If I were to steal, but then our friends, Tabale, they were not even hiding. So I don't know whether I in my head I'm thinking, are these people even okay? Because if a normal person steals, but I am first. Back to take a you will find them. So now I'm wondering, why is it that this previous government never even hid Tabale in plain view? Mr. Miyanda.
Mwelwa, these people never, in their wildest dreams, they never thought they would leave office, including their Kachema. These people were so comfortable. Echo twaumina kachema papa nempanga shisalangani. These people were so comfortable. This is how
Zimba
come they
Tantule.
could do certain things. Yes, this is how come they could do certain things, thinking they will still correct them at some point. Now, what I did not understand is that money leaves paper trail. Even money launderers, those people that clean money, are not small people. You cannot clean money with chijombo on your feet or foot. You need a brilliant brain to be able to do to involve to be able to engage in such kind of activities. So what these people thought was, when they steal and buy a house, no one will question how they managed to get that house. When they steal and buy higher buses, no one should question. Now, the laws are very straightforward. Every money that is found in your possession, you should be able to explain. What is so difficult, Mwelwa, about explaining how you bought your pair of trousers? Why should you why should you now go and get poor people, chitintangombe as they call it, to just go and explain? In fact, the police at times even forget about certain laws. Even your own TV, they are supposed to come and ask you for a receipt, so that they know how you got a TV and how much you got it at. So these people never ever thought about, they never ever thought they would leave office, and they've never heard about a thing called paper trail. So this is why it was easy for professional people like Mary Chirwa to be able to follow these people. Simple paper trail. When you have 10,000 kwacha and you take it to a mobile booth, it's detected in the system. So the government then gets interested in how you got access, how you access that kind of money. So when people come and ask how you got that money when you earn 500 kwacha, don't complain. Just go and explain how you earned that money. Full stop. Yeah, so it's the kind of people we are dealing
Mr.
with.
Frank.
Ababantu bali abantu abakwe bati balese endalama, hoping indalama eshika iwamya, and we'll just be looking at them. These people made us look like they made us look lazy. They would just be moving around with bags of money and all. Now, they should not blame anyone. They should not start finger pointing people at day. Let them just go and explain. Now, look, they are running away from their own cars that they bought. Ama motoka yali ishita. Londolo lenifyo fu mwale ishita ama motoka. Mirasa mku tuliti da koifwe.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Miyanda. Mr. Frank?
The bottom line is ichibe mbache bati mumbwe pakulila injina ishibe mwashintirire chimbi chibemba tulachimona kwati nisosero chibi but lero chisuma nemputisula taibula kubwekesha hapo nomba. When you hear this story, it was very clear that the previous regime had taken the law for granted. That's why, like you earlier highlighted, they went up to as far as manipulating the system and making everyone believe that a third term would be appropriate. Now, let's look at it from a positive line. Why then should somebody steal publicly to say in this day? Because somebody like Honorable Bowman Musambo is on record. There's a video when you steal for the future.
Yeah,
You know,
and they
so
say
now
that
if someone uses
not to kuiba embuto, but if fimbi, but not embuto.
yes, ishifaza
Ah,
nombale beba faza. Now you can imagine
Faza.
when there's no moral aspect or the backbone of the moral aspect of an individual is broken, you become paralyzed. So for me, I'm not so surprised that we can hear such sentiments from us, because the backbone of laws in Zambia have been broken. The judicial system has been a paralyzed system. Well, we were seeing a system where somebody is being beaten by cadres who are Jombo. Go to a court of law, nobody will even listen to you. Are you telling me all those judges were crooked judges? They were not learned. So for me, this is where we are coming in with the morality of an individual. It's time now that we put people in office abali willing to save Zambians, not people that are willing to save their pockets. Bakalamba, like you had earlier cited, there are people that want to eat from a system. No, let Zambians do things rightly. We are not interested mumpia shakwa bomani nga bonanza. That's not our money. But for them, they want to play around that circle so that bambibali pay money. We're playing. We're not saving them. Like Wiseman had earlier said. For me, I think certain institutional bodies need to be disbanded first. So that they will start learning little by little. There's no way they should be holding people captive like the rest of these people are not thinking. Publicly, somebody was just poor and they're busy complaining at all. To conquer, it's a witch hunt. And so on in attend the new Dawn government to Kushta, then you have a problem. You know, do you see their thinking? Why are they not following? Even if you went to any court of law, somebody summoned you. So I bought through these means and others. Number, why is it a problem today? It's because they thought they had broken the laws of systems. They paralyzed our judicial system. They were no longer interested to see the law work for the people of Zambia. So that's why, believe me, what now they're even behaving better. The president has at least up to a certain degree of integrity and morality put in Zambians to start thinking in a right manner. So for me, the reason why Bale Fibi left publicly, no officer, is because they know the system they brought in place. Aba bantu balijibika mu green software. No mbato anafuto wala bika mufye antivirus. Pakachechi green software tutichimfye. Icha afima jombo. No.
No, that is so poignant and very straight to the to the point. And I think as we go towards our ending remarks, I think the last element for me is the emphasis by the president to work. A lot of the things that are going on, and I think, like you're saying, the system was created in such a way that people, one, were not working. It was easy for you to find loopholes, and and all sorts of things. So I'm really happy that the president is insisting on working hard, and this is probably a mindset shift, because I always tend to think that if peaceful because we think we are peaceful, but I think it's docility, and we have allowed a lot of rubbish in because they're really peaceful. And I think for me, one of the things I would probably want to see is more and more, especially the civil service. I think the civil service, they need cleaner. You need a governance course, because by cleaner are the worst people sometimes. The corruption or the ineptness starts from the cleaner. If I go to UTH, the cleaner, the moment I go from door, I know in person now in person extra, I've seen all these things and it just irritates you. And I think we need, like the president keeps insisting, we need a mind shift change. People just need to work because Vale Fola. And that element for me is one thing that for me, I'm really excited about the president. I think there are very few things that I get happy about sometimes, but on that element, I think we really need to get that working hard and clean, because I think because system warped, and now we're just doing anything that we want, and we're still operating on that green software as it was. So I think before I come to your questions, Mr. Frank has just joined us. Any questions or additions, Mr. Frank? Saliki. Now I realize the two Franks. So Mr. Saliki.
Yeah. Just to confuse you. I think
yeah.
Very important point, just picking up on what the point you're just making then. When people go to work, they're being paid. They're there to be paid. That's why they're there. They're being paid. It's not an opportunity to make extra money. It's not an opportunity to say, no, I go to work, I'm a cleaner, I'm gonna make some extra money by trying to get money off the members of the public. That's not what they're there to do. They're being paid, and that is a role that they play. And mind shift is very important in all that we do. I think we have to go away from this notion of wanting something out of nothing. I think that really puts a lot of corruption into the system, because people think they can get something out of nothing. And when the president says no party after party, people laughed as if it's a joke. Actually, the regime who are literally just saying that party after party, where the president who was saying Ariamuibala, and we tolerated things like that, and people made jokes about that, but they were doing that. We let them. We have to reach a point where, when our leaders come into power, we say, we put you in there. You serve us, the people, and that's what your responsibility is. We've got this thing in Africa where we put the leaders that we elect on the pedestal. We forget we put them there. And I like what President Akahinde is doing, is reminding those leaders, you're there for a reason. When they did all the investigations and they found that the former PS at the Ministry of Health had done something wrong, even though President Akahinde appointed him, he removed him straight away. He didn't go, I'm going to protect him because you're my person. He said this before he was elected: if you do something wrong, we are not going to protect you. And that is what leadership should be about. The previous government did everything in its power to protect its people, to protect whoever it was involved in corruption activities. When they become public knowledge, they did everything to protect them. And just the last point in terms of the corruption investigations, I think, I can't remember who said it, but they made a very important point. People were spending money because they didn't think that, they thought they were a lot clever. We'll get the money, we'll buy a house, nobody will ask questions because it's a house. So now people are being asked, explain where you got the money from. And all of a sudden, people can't explain where they got the money from. They say, we're being picked on because we're opposition. Now, just explain where we got the money from. And probably on another point, that's quite irrelevant. Why are we paying for President Edgar Lungu's rents? That does my head in. When his wife says he's got all these floods and everything else, that's another matter for another day.
That's mind-boggling. I don't know why we're paying for millionaires and billionaires.
I know. That's just like, what? So this guy is your millionaire, but we, the taxpayers, are paying his rent every month. All right.
The flats are not he can't touch them. Yava first lady, not Avalume. You know Pazambi.
Oh wow.
So he's not entitled.
They've clearly got money. They've clearly got properties. President Lungu has clearly got properties across the country, and people know this. It's public knowledge. People were able to show you where his properties are. Why is my fingers here? Why do we have to pay for his rent? He's got enough money. And I think whoever wrote that legislation, they have to rethink that legislation. It's just a bit crazy. If the president has got enough, actually, if I work anywhere in a company, then I retire, that company does not expect to pay me, build me a house, or pay my renters. I have to look after myself. If you're president, the only thing that you are entitled to is national security. Where to live and all of that, you sort yourself. I submit, otherwise I will go on. That's just insane.
No, thank you so much. Mr. Frank, your last sentiments as we wind down. I know I've kept you longer than you were actually prepared to stay. I do apologize.
Okay, that's great. Ramashina, how are you there?
I'm good, and you?
So the bottom line is that we're on the right track of doing certain things right, and we should not be discouraged because the president now is asking us to start behaving in a proper manner and is asking us to start working. We have for a long time inculcated a culture in the young people of dishing handouts. Now, believe me, no matter how much handout we give them, we are not supporting them. We're not building this nation. Mind you, I love the book written by Robert Greene, The 48 Laws of Power. In that book, you find there are certain tendencies of leadership where you do the dangling carrot and all those things. You ride the donkey. The donkey is not eaten, but it's trying to eat the carrot. At the end of the day, the beneficiary is the one riding the donkey. So certain things that we've been practicing or certain things that we've been seeing are not a way of doing it. And it's time we support the president now in plot one, President Hakainde Hichilema, because he's asking us to go back to the roots, behave properly, do things rightly. And I think for a long time we needed such a man in office because then is building this country to a core where people had lost their own mind of thinking. The backbone of the brain was totally damaged. Our young people today were just lining up in the street. Valerumba Fiba honorable. Apita honorable. Valefo Aveshium streets. That these are common things in the streets now. Valefo Kumonana no Aquatendalama. Apita Bamulumba Avasela or something. And that in its own context, but that was wrong. So I think for me, for one, I'm totally in support with the call that the president has raised now. We need to go back to our roots and begin how to work. Then we can build this nation. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Miyanda, your last remarks? Oh, bless. He's lost his connection. All right, Mr. Wiseman, any your last remarks in less than a minute?
Thank you very much, Mera. Nice to see you, Frank. I think my last remarks goes to father. Father, you teach your children to be stealing, but not to be stealing with seeds. That's why wali watuma TV, but I'm decoder walisha. So you are reaping your own souls. Don't complain. As we are there. Body government.
Body shembu to bedroom. Thank you so much, Mr. Wiseman. Mr. Mkelevai.
Wiseman, yeah. Anyway, my last sentiment, or rather my conclusion, what I can say is that it is important for us, countrymen and women, to know the people that actually did not mean well for us. We know who they are. We know what they've done, no matter how they may try to run around to stay away from the law or coming up with the complaints or blaming game. We know what they were capable of doing. And it bugs me. Why would someone who claims he is rich because he was doing business, and then here we are when the court nullify his seat or her seat, what happens? You see them running, crying so loud, the loudest. Ulea ku government yesha kwa tempia okulepo okuya ulesha business yobe aleshita na mama helicopter. Who does that? So to me, why would you rush sinshule kutukira mu government ishakwata n'empia. So we know. So that's why you see them complaining. Balechika complain. They know that that is where they were getting whatever properties that they own today came as a result or by virtue of them being whoever ministers or members of parliament or belonging to a particular political party. So Bafuve, KBF, be careful. They will come to line up for jobs. So me, I would say, watch out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Miyanda, I can see, I think your network is a bit struggling, but I hope you're there. Any last remarks as we wind down? Can you get us? Oh, I think his network is still tripping. So gentlemen, thank you so much. Are you back on, Mr. Miyanda? Oh, kukopa la kwa shupa. All right, I think we can't get him back. I think the network isn't so good. So gentlemen, thank you so much for humoring us and spending time with us. I know, especially for Mr. Frank, you had another appointment and you were asking for 30 minutes. So I do apologize that I've kept you long. And thank you so much for your intelligence, for your views. And to the door that went to State House, congratulations. We're really happy for you. And we are happy that the president equally was down to earth enough to do a TikTok video with you, because I think that's quite big that he did that. And congratulations. And for the rest of the team, thanks so much for joining me. Mr. Wiseman, thank you so much for helping out with my technical issues at the beginning. And everyone else, this has been TV Bakwet 2, a collection of voices, and good night. And thank you for watching.